Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the interview portion of the 2024 World Livestock Auctioneer Championship. And we'd also like to welcome everyone that's watching live stream on LMA's YouTube channel. We do have a set of 5 judges to score each contestant this afternoon. The criteria that are used are presentation and response, with scoreable categories for these ones: initial command and introduction, professionalism and poise, body language and eye contact, did the contestant answer the question, substance of answers and knowledge of industry, articulation, and would this auctioneer make a good marketing ambassador? We have 5 judges here that will be judging today's contest, and those judges for the interview portion are Mr. John Corey, your 2002 World Livestock Auctioneer and Champion from Colorado. Mr. Ron Hayes from the Oklahoma Farm Radio, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Miss Kylie Denise, Oklahoma Pork Council, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Miss Alicia Robertson, Crawford Livestock Market, Crawford, Nebraska. And Mr. Bracken Marburger, Milano Livestock Exchange, Milano, Texas. Thank you, judges. Today, each of our semifinalists, they drew for order of appearance last night, and I will call each one out one at a time to ask the same 3 questions. The questions were selected in advance by a committee of LMA leadership. At this time, I ask that all members of the audience pay respect to their contestants by either turning cell phones off or on silent, and please keep your conversations and noise in the room to a minimum. I may be like one of the speakers we had earlier. He was charging $50 for every time a phone would go off for the pack, so I think that's a good idea. If we hear a phone goes off, you got to make a $50 donation to our pack. So we hope we don't hear that. But if you wouldn't mind to silence those cell phones, please. And without further ado, let's get started with our interview round. Contestant number 1, Jace Thompson. Hey, Jace, how are you?
Jacob, how are you?
Good. Good to have you here. Is there anybody, any of your sponsors or family you'd like to thank back home?
Yeah, absolutely. Montana Livestock Auction, they're in Ramsey, Montana. They sponsor me, BLS, Billings Livestock Commission, in the competitive markets there in Billings, BLS Horse Sales in Billings, and Buffalo Livestock Marketing there in Wyoming. I got a lot of other people that have helped me along the way and sponsored me that I have to thank. Most of all, I want to thank the attendees and the judges also for taking time out of their day. We've had historic attendance here at Oklahoma City for the convention, and I know everybody is really excited about that.
You bet. Jace, I've got a couple of questions for you. First question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think there's a few things that make a good auctioneer. Number 1 would be knowledge of your product and knowledge of the industry. I think that's number 1 on the list. Honesty and integrity is also there, and work ethic would also be on there, in my opinion.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consignors week to week?
Yeah, it takes a lot. I think it goes back to the first question. You got to be knowledgeable. You got to be up with the industry and know what to do, when to do it, and what everything is bringing. Also, you need to work as hard as you can each day to get the most for those cattle and most for that livestock that you can, depending on the market that day.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I would say the biggest thing that I see people do often is they don't stay in touch with their market representative or whoever is in charge of marketing their cattle. We're in it every week or every day, and you can gain a lot as a producer. You can gain a lot of knowledge of the industry as a producer just by talking to a market rep or whoever is in charge of marketing your cattle, often.
Jace, thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate it.
Contestant number 2, Dustin Smith. Hey, Dustin, how are you?
Just fine. How are you?
Good, good. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Is there anybody, any of your sponsors or family, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
There is the whole crew back at 4 State Stockyards from the back all the way to the front. Let me work for them every week. My family for making it possible and supporting me to be here. And also all of y'all. This is a great time and place to come and network and build strength together in our industry. And all of y'all make all this possible for us auctioneers to have this. So thank you for being here.
Dustin, I've got a few questions for you. First question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
So I think what makes me a good auctioneer, I like to take pride in a good rhythmic chant, something that hopefully people can listen to all day long. But even what's important than just having the auctioneer chant, I think a good auctioneer needs to be educated on the livestock auction markets, how they work, and also in the cattle industry and what goes on, and be able to advise people if asked, because in this position you're the quarterback for the day. So, and you need to be a salesman, but you got to be trustworthy. And sometimes I don't always go together in other industries, but I believe if you are trustworthy and you're knowledgeable about the product, people will sell themselves on you and help you be successful.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
So week to week, I'm looking at cattle markets. I also run cattle myself and involved in marketing cattle all the time. And I look at things going on in the industry, what the market looks like it's doing, which way it's going to go. I also like to read my buyers every week, and there becomes a point in time where you get to know them good enough and what they're doing and what the market's going on, what's going on in the market, to where you feel like you know where and how fast you can take those guys to get every extra little penny for the producers' cattle that they bring in.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I wish more producers, I wish we had more time. I wish more producers would understand the cycle through the year on cattle and why it is buyers want those cattle. We can never predict the market, but we can just about always predict demand. We know at grass time there's a high demand for a certain type of animal, preconditioned and enough age on it and so on and so forth. We also know those animals also make the best yearlings at the end of the year after the grass, during the grass season. Those cattle perform the best as well out in the feed yard, and they come out of the feed yard at a time where it tends to be a little higher to be able to market those cattle for the timing of year. So many of them pull up and they unload their cattle and drive off a lot of smaller producers. And I think we could really help them if we could educate them on when and why the market does what it wants and why the buyers want what they want at that time of year.
You bet. Thanks, Dustin.
Yep, thank you.
Next contestant, Marcus Kent. Hey, Marcus, how are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
Good, good. It's good to have you. Would you like to thank any of your sponsors or family or anybody back home?
Yes, sir. I would like to thank my wife for coming out here and supporting me. I would like to thank my family for taking care of everything at home while I'm out here. I'd also like to thank Burton Bellamy from Ocala Stocker for sponsoring me.
You bet. Marcus, a couple of questions for you. Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
I feel like I'm a good auctioneer because I'm very passionate about it. I'm a third-generation auctioneer. That's something that's very near and dear to my heart, that I just knew I wanted to continue that can legacy. But more than that, I feel like a good auctioneer is someone that's not only passionate, but is a servant to the community. I really enjoy doing my 4-H and FFA sale every year, and being an energetic auctioneer that can get the buyers engaged and get the most money that we can get.
Your second question, Marcus. How do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
I feel like talking with the buyers and the sellers. Just, when they're unloading the trucks, just go out there. How's your day? How's your family? How's the rain or the hay? You having a good calf crop? Just interacting with buyers or with the sellers on a week to week basis. I think that's how I could do that.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
In my area, I wish that producers did a better job on a vaccination program, castrating calves. We've got a lot of small producers that don't have pens. They don't have the means to do it. Hiring day workers is expensive and gets costly, so they just don't do it. They don't wean. We sell a lot of calves right off the cow that morning. I feel like they could get a better price for their calves if they could do that. I don't know the answer to that just because of the situation that they're in, but I feel like that's what they could do better.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
Your next contestant, Dakota Davis. Hey, Dakota, how are you? Good. Dakota, would you like to thank any of your sponsors or your family at this time?
Yeah, I would. First off, I'd like to thank my team and my family that's here today. Being kind of in our backyard, I've got a few extra spectators than we generally have. So sitting over here, thank you all for being here and supporting me. I'd like to thank you judges on the panel here for being with us today. And thank everybody in the audience, those that are watching online and those that will watch later. It's a pleasure to be here and answer some questions from you, Jacob.
Dakota, your first question. What makes you a good auctioneer?
Well, that's a great question, and if you ask a lot of different people, you'll get a different answer. But to me, a great auctioneer is someone who knows the value of your product, who works for the seller and the seller alone, a guy who's got confidence with the microphone and can kind of anticipate who's coming to the bid and where we might be going, and one not to waste any time. And I try to do that as best I can. Owning the market, I can only be mad at myself if I'm not fast enough. So,
your second question. How do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consignors week to week?
How do I prepare? Staying abreast on the market and everything that's going on in the industry, knowing our producers as best we can. And, at our market, we try to build a little safety in there with our check-in slips so that if there's some information that I don't know, we have access to that. As an auctioneer, in my own sale, I'll take the time to make a phone call from the block if I need to gather some extra information. And, they're trusting us in just a minute's time to sell their year's livelihood. So we're not afraid to make a phone call and gather a little bit more. And as we do that each and every week, you stay in the middle of the market, you'll be in the right spot.
Your third question. What do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
Boy, that's a great question. I think that's what makes livestock markets so viable and why we've been in business so long. The producer knows everything about their product, what they choose to do and how to raise their animal, and they trust us to be able to tell them when and how and what their product is worth at any given time. I was studying a buying card. I buy a little cattle every now and again, and I noticed on my buying card an 850-pound steer last week was worth more than a 900-pound steer. There's no way for producers to know that unless they're buying cattle for somebody else or they're being told by their marketer. And so, I think just building a relationship. If you've got a relationship with the market, if you've got a relationship with the guy marketing your cattle and he's got a relationship with the buyers, you're going to be in a great spot. And it doesn't matter what kind of cattle you raise or how you raise them. Those relationships and opportunities are there for them.
Dakota, thank you.
Thank you all.
Your next contestant, Preston Smith. Hey, Preston, how are you?
Good, Jacob. You?
Good. Preston, is there anybody, your sponsors or family, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
Oh, absolutely. I'd like to thank my family, my parents for being here and support me over my career, my wife and my children for supporting me, and my partner, Matt Jablonski, for being here as well. So family, thank you for being here. Jacob, I think you have some questions for me.
You bet. Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
That's a great question, Jacob. For me, it's the customer relationship that I have with my customers. The knowledge of the industry, the knowledge of what's happening, and that communication that I have in honesty, integrity, and reliability at my sale barn that I produce for my buyers, my consigners, and for our customers all the way in. I do believe I'm a very good auctioneer.
Number 2, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
For me, it's staying up, reading, watching the market, listening to news broadcast, watching the CME board, watching the market, talking to fellow market owners, talking to buyers, talking to several sets of feed yards, where they're at. And then, our customers we own 2 markets. One in Nebraska, one in Kansas, and there's difference. The further north you go, it seems like cattle might be a little bit higher. You got to answer that question to your customer. Traveling, you explain it to them, but you have to relay to your customer. They're relying on you. That's why they pay you. That's why they bring their cattle there for true price discovery. But you got to keep your customer, your producers, constantly with the knowledge, and that's our job.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
The overall market. A lot of things that you look at, you see lately, which at our markets, we have 2 offices that are strictly for this, and it's been very great. But the new program everybody's taking advantage of is the LRP, Livestock Protection Risk for the cattle. And we're glad that we opened that in our office for our producers, because they're able to come in to secure a financial revenue for their unborn calf for October's price. And so I really feel that just educating our producers of what they can do is the most important thing to help them further down in their livelihood, what's going on, and then help us for the next generation of what's happening in our industry, to help them to get the next 5th, 6th, 7th generation to stay on that ranch. That's very important.
Preston, thank you.
Jacob, thank you. Thank you all folks for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Your next contestant, Michael Imbrogno. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Jacob, how are you?
Good. Michael, would you like to thank any of your sponsors or family back home?
Yes, I would. I'd like to take this time and thank my sponsors, Tulare Sales Yard, David and Tina Messina, John and Rodney Dolliswager in Tulare County Stockyards in Dynuma, California. They're great supporters of mine, and appreciate the opportunity for them allowing me to do what I get to do in this industry. So thank you.
Michael, I've got a few questions for you. First question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Jacob, that's a real good question. And for what I think makes me a really good auctioneer is my ability to work hard for my consigners and be honest and have integrity, but also be able to build relationships that are long-lasting with my consigners and my buyers.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
How I prepare myself is going and learning about what's going on in the market, in my market, in markets around me, and being able to be in the know of what's going on in the industry. You know, being able to follow what the LMA is doing for the producers and their member markets, and being able to be in the know of what's going on in the market, the different market trends, and just being, I feel, just being current on what's going on in the industry and what's going on in the market.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
What I wish more producers knew about marketing livestock is, you know, having the ability to be educated on, you know, what vaccinations would work for them in their operation, being able to utilize the different programs that are out there for these producers like GAP4, IMI Global, NHTC, VegFed, the different programs that are offered and the different things that you can utilize, including like even now the Angus Merit Score. Any of these things that people can utilize as tools or opportunities to improve on their operation or improve their livestock, I think would be a great benefit for them.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.
Next contestant, Troy Robinett.
Hi, Jacob. How are
Troy,
you, sir?
How are you? I'm good.
Good
Thanks.
to see you, my friend.
You bet. Troy, is there any of your sponsors or family you'd like to thank?
Absolutely. I want to thank my wife, Amelia, and two sons, Cannon and Cooper. Last night they were at the Texas Auctioneers Association convention representing our family since I was here, and this morning they opened up the swimming pool. And as soon as that was done, they hopped in the car and they came up here, and so I'm thankful for their support. And my friend, I want to thank you. Over the years, becoming your friend and from these contests and watching how you have conducted yourself as champion has truly been impressive.
Thank you, Troy. Got a few questions for you. Your first question. What makes you a good auctioneer?
I love people. I mean, I love being behind the microphone. That is a lot of fun. But meeting people and finding out how I can be of service to them is my number one thing and favorite thing about being an auctioneer.
Second question. How do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Each week is different, and it depends on the week to week on how you need to make preparations, whether the market be good or the market be bad. One thing as auctioneers that we have to do as part of that preparation is stay in tune with those markets. If the market's going up, bad issues, and being a part of the LMA and staying active and involved is key to being a great auctioneer and being able to serve those producers.
Your third question. What do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I wish more producers knew that it's a year-round effort. It's not just the day you bring your cattle to the market and you drop them off. It's not. It's from the time that they calve and you start that vaccination program and you start that EID program. I wish that they knew that as you work into that summer season and you start talking into your marketer, that you have got to know what those calves are going to do in the fall. And you've got to have a plan with that marketing agent. Because if you're just going to take them to the market and drop them off and hope for the best, it's probably not going to work out in your favor. I wish more producers knew that it's 365 days. You've got to be involved in your marketing of your cattle.
Troy, thank you.
Thank you, friend. Appreciate you.
Next contestant, Eric Drees.
Good to see you, Jacob.
Eric, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. Eric, is there any of your sponsors or family you'd like to thank that are back home or watching online?
Absolutely. I want to thank all the people who are in my corner, my family, my friends, and all my sponsors back at home: Montana Livestock Auction, Central Oregon Livestock Auction, Central Washington Livestock Auction, Loma Livestock LLC, and Producers Livestock Marketing Association. It's fun to be surrounded by and have the opportunity to work with people who are as passionate about this industry as what I am. And let me say this, I'm really looking forward to being on the block at Oklahoma National tomorrow. To have an auctioneer, or for an auctioneer to have the opportunity to be on that block in that historic venue, I think it's equivalent for a baseball player having the chance to play in Yankee Stadium for the first time. So really looking forward to it.
Eric, I've got a few questions for you.
You bet.
Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Well, I think what makes me a good auctioneer is the ingredients that I think every auctioneer needs. I'd like to think that I have some poise and some professionalism. I have knowledge of the market. I know I'm knowledgeable about what I'm selling, who I'm selling to, and who I'm selling for. And I think above all, honesty and integrity. And I think that's the most important ingredient, and what makes me a good auctioneer is because you can have all those other ingredients. You can have all the product knowledge and all the industry knowledge in the world. But if you're not honest and you don't treat people with integrity and respect, and nobody wants to do business with you, the other skills won't count for very much because you really won't accomplish anything.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
At the markets that I sell, I try to study the consignments that we have coming in, especially if it's in the fall of the year. I usually have a pretty good idea of whose cattle are selling and what day. I'm in constant contact with our markets. I really try to stay up to speed as far as what they do for social media, and of course I study the markets week in and week out in our busy time of the year, which in my case is the fall out west. I sell 3 to 4 markets a week. I have cattle myself, so I prepare myself in that way. I just try to stay in constant contact. I think communication is the key for all of it.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
The thing that I really run into, and that I think a lot of us run into, I wish producers would, number one, spend more time marketing livestock. It's not just a one-day-a-year deal. You have to work at marketing 365 days a year. You have to understand the value of what you've produced. You have to make sure, the producers have to make sure that they've followed the proper vaccination protocols, that they've done everything that they can to procure the best genetics that they can possibly afford. And they need to stay in constant contact with their marketer, whether it's their auctioneer, a video rep, their local marketer, whatever avenue they choose to market their cattle. They need to stay in contact. They need to give us as much notice as possible, week 2, 3 ahead of time, of what day they're going to bring their cattle in, and gives us an opportunity to work on some buyers for them. So I really think that it gets back to communication. That's one of the key ingredients.
Eric, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your next contestant, Justin Dodson.
Hello, Jacob.
Hi, Justin. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How
Good,
about yourself?
good.
Good.
Have a seat. Is there anybody, your sponsors or family, anybody you'd like to thank?
Yes, sir, I would. Yes, I'd like to thank my family. I'd like to thank my sponsors, CNC Cattle Company in the great state of Georgia, Parsons Livestock Market, Parsons, Kansas. Wade and Christy Dillinger, our sales every Wednesday. And 4 state stockyards, Exeter, Missouri, Chris Keeling, and all the Hammond family, huge family. And our sale there is every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Justin, I've got a few questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
That's a great question, Jacob. What makes me a good auctioneer, I feel like, is years of experience. I've had many years of experience, 30-some years of experience now. I think you need to have a good chant. You need to be clear. You need to be crisp. You need to know your product that you're selling. And there's more than just sounding good. You need to have more than just a good chant. You need to know what you're selling and the value. So many auctioneers, especially young auctioneers that have asked me questions like this, I've told them that you've got to know the value. You need to know your customers. You need to know what you're selling, all of your clients.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
One of the ways that I like to do that is talking to the good thing about that is, for example, I've been at Parsons Livestock Market for 20 years now, and I know so many of our producers, and they know me, and they'll call me. Sometimes if they can't get a hold of Wade, they'll call me, hey, Justin, I couldn't get a hold of Wade, but I'm bringing these cattle. So they rely on me to help market those cattle. Years ago, when I was a young auctioneer, Ray Winter called me in. I worked for Ray years ago, and he called me in. He said, we're doing more than just auctioning cattle. We're marketing these cattle for these people. And this is something that these folks depend on. They depend on that once or twice a year check. So the more I know about my consigners and their cattle and their background, their vaccination programs, the more I can relay that to my buyers, and the more better off I am to get top dollar for them.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I wish more producers, and we're turning the corner when I say this, about the genetics and how important it is for good genetics in their cattle. Because the better genetics they have in their cattle, the better their cattle are going to perform for the gentlemen that are buying them. And that reputation goes back. It continues to trickle down. Those buyers, they remember how well, certain cattle perform, and they want to. They'll roll back and buy them cattle again. And as an auctioneer and the sale barn owners, it's very important that we talk to our producers about continuing good genetics and everything that we can, because we're in such a competitive business. Yep.
Justin, thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, judges alike, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for your time. God bless you, and God bless our wonderful industry. Thank you.
Next contestant, Dean Edge. Hey, Dean, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Have a seat.
Thank you so much for being such a great representative to all of us here this last year, and your friendship, and also a role model for all of us as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. It's good to have you. Is there anybody, your sponsors or family, you'd like to thank at this time?
Sure. Yeah, my wife's here. Thank her for being here, and also thanks to VJV Marketing Group, Henry and Andrea Thalen, and their whole crew is here. They're the one that own the market at home. That I get to work with them and work with our general folks around. We bring cattle in there and sell for them. So thanks for having me and everybody here.
Dean, I've got a few questions for you. Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Well, that's a good question, and I guess I went to auctioneer school in Billings, Montana in 1999. Ever since then, I've been kind of wondering what makes me good, and I feel like it has a lot to do with the people I hang around. I get to hang around with Danny Skeels, a world champion livestock auctioneer. He's a close friend and a family neighbor of mine, and I've been around him for 40 years. So having him in my corner all the time to not just judge and critique, but I get to able to fill in for him where he needs me to, has brought me up to a level that I've never kind of dreamed possible. People like yourself. Funny fact, Jacob actually texted me a couple years ago, asked me for advice at this here interview. And I'm like, well, you go to him all the time. He says, yeah, but you do good at him. Well, guess who won it first, though? It was Jacob. He won it first. So guys like him that always have support for, not just for me, but for everybody involved. And I do believe that coming to industry events like this, and you can attend a convention where you get to sit on the seminars and also the sessions today that are put on by the LMA, they make me better because it's all about our community and everybody that I represent. And they're my neighbors, they're my friends, they're my customers. When they bring in cattle to the auction market, I just try to do my best to get the most for them. And that's just what it's all about. I think a great auctioneer is somebody who represents their customers and does the best of their ability to get the most they can for their family, friends, and neighbors. And the LMA is a big part of supporting that.
Your second question. How do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Well, that's a great question as well. And here a few years ago, I kind of moved up a little bit in our company there to be a sales representative and sales management for my local auction market in Rimbey, Alberta. So it got me out on the road quite a bit more. And visiting with the people in their yards is something that they just truly appreciate. And everybody wants to have you come out and look at your cattle and just tell them how good they are and everything. But we got to realize that we're in the people business, not just in the auction business and the cattle business, but it's how we deal with the people. I can get cattle into town and I can sell them higher than the market is. But if I tell that gentleman that his wife's cookies were terrible and his dog's a mutt, they're never going to deal with me ever again. So you got to be in the people business and keep them in mind every aspect along the way. Of course, I phone the buyers every night before the sale, let them know what's coming in. They got usually way more questions than what I can answer for them. But when we got a good run of cattle coming in, same deal from my neighbors, my friends, my family. I want to make sure the buyers know. And we got a great advertising system as well at VJV, way up the cattle the day before. So a show list goes out to the buyers so it doesn't take too much more interaction with the buyers to let them know what's coming in. But same deal, coming to these deals like this, the sessions today just teach me so much on how to deal with people, how to deal with buyers, how to deal with customers, how to deal with consigners, and the LMA teaches me a lot, and I really appreciate coming to deals like this for sure.
Your third question. What do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I guess that's a good question because I am one of those producers. We all want to sell at the very, very top. And I guess as producers, they need to be educated on when to sell. It's pretty easy to predict the price they're going to bring, but it's pretty hard to predict when that price is going to be happening. We can go trends over the years, and we know with the trucking issues and when the feedlots start filling up, we know they're going to start going down. In my country, that's going to start by the beginning of October, and it's going to last until middle of December every single year. So somebody phones in, they want to bring in their calves on the 14th of November, and they did it last year, and they did it the year prior, and I could tell them, could you please just keep them a few more weeks or wean them and keep them till the spring? Well, that's the way my dad did it, 14th of November every year, and that's the way my granddad did it on the 14th of November every year. I'd kind of like them to look maybe past family traditions and look at what I have to offer. If you wean your calves, keep them till the new year, look at how the futures are. So there's quite a few things I guess I can offer, but I wish they would maybe look past what their dad did and what their granddad did and maybe just go a little bit more with that, what I suggest. How's that?
Dean, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out here today. Thanks, judges, for taking your time as well. Thank you.
Next contestant, Ben Morgan. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Good afternoon, Jacob. Good. How are you?
Good. Have a seat. Ben, is there anybody, your sponsors or family, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
Certainly. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Christiansburg Livestock LLC, the Marshall family out of Virginia, and certainly like to thank my family for traveling out here with me, and they've stood behind me the whole way.
Ben, I've got a few questions for you. Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
You know, Jacob, I'm a third-generation auctioneer, and from the time I was just a young boy, my grandfather and my father have always instilled in me to be honest, and he always had this saying, if you give a man your word, you don't go back on your word if it takes the hide off. That's what he always told me. And another thing is I feel like when a set of cattle come in the ring, when I'm selling for that producer, whether that producer I know has 50 head or 1,000 head, that could be their only calf crop for the year, and I try to strive to get that producer as much money as possible for their cattle.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
You know, trying to keep up with the markets. You know, we get a lot of people that'll call, say, "Hey, is this a good week to bring our cattle? You know, what's the market looking like?" And knowing those types of things, you know, to help guide them to make sure that you can get them the best price possible, is something that we strive to do. And just more or less get to know your producers, and like I said, try to help them along the way as much as possible.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
Especially in times like right now with a market as high as we have, would be more, you know, the wean and vaccination programs. And it's our job as market owners, auctioneers, and marketers, is to help, you know, educate them on weaning these cattle, vaccinating these cattle, and getting them ready for the next step. That way their buyer does not have as big a risk when they're buying them. And, you know, just like I said, with cattle this high, they're not taking as, you know, there's still a risk, but there's not as big a risk if those cattle are weaned, vaccinated, and, you know, if we can help them to start a program like that, it's better for both sides.
Ben, thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you.
Next contestant, Brandon Hamel. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Jacob.
Good afternoon. Have a seat. Brandon, is there anybody you'd like to thank, your sponsors or your family?
You bet, Jacob. My family traveled with me. I don't see them in the crowd, but they're back there. There they are. You bet. I'd like to thank them for coming along. But folks, I'm very fortunate. I've got some great sponsors behind me: Farmers and Ranchers Livestock, Salina, Kansas; Mike Samples and Kyle Elwood; and also Heartland Regional Stockyards there in Plainville, Lloyd and Judy Schneider.
Brandon, I've got a few questions for you. First question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
You know, Jacob, I've been selling about 15, 16 years. And when I first started, I was going to a college in Hayes, and we had about a 30-minute drive. And I would really work on my chant, listen to the past champions. And I thought, folks, that was what it was about, having a pretty sounding chant. And about 4.5 years ago, I took over the manager's job at Heartland Regional. And when that happened, I realized at that point I was just a bid caller. And Jacob, as you know, as a champion, there's a distinct difference between being a bid caller and an auctioneer. And what I mean by that, as an auctioneer and as a market manager, folks, we have to know, one, the value. We have to know who's going to buy them at a certain price. And we have to know how to sell them and sell them properly. So I feel like that's why in the last 4.5 years I've really grown in that aspect. And I think that's what makes me a good auctioneer.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
As I mentioned before, I'm the manager there at Heartland, and I deal with our consigners on a daily basis. I know everything from what their cattle are, how long they've been weaned, some of them when the kids' birthdays are. So we become really close with them, and I really think that's a vital part of this, what we do as market managers, owners, and cattle consigners. But the thing is, you have to relate to the people. You have to relate their product, and then we have to take that product and relay that to the buyers on why those cattle are maybe a little better than some, and we have to market their product. So, yep.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
Our producers, folks, as you all know, most of you are producers. The ones that don't know, folks, we raise the best protein in the world, right? So as we heard in this meeting earlier, and I'm a big sports guy, this guy said play offense. And what that means is, to me, folks, go out and promote what you do, right? So our producers that we get to work for, go out and promote what you do. And with that, if you do your job and we do our job, folks, we can sell your product as high as you could ever imagine. It's highly desirable. We just got to get it in the right face and at the right time, and we'll get that right price through true market discovery.
Brandon, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Your next contestant, Brennin Jack.
Hi, Jacob.
Hi,
How's
Brennin.
it going?
Good. Are you?
Good.
Have a seat. Brennan, is there anybody, your sponsors or family you'd like to thank back home?
Yeah, you bet. Definitely want to thank all my sponsors for allowing me the opportunity to represent them and everybody back home in Canada, all my family watching. And it's as hot as a microwave out here in Oklahoma City. It's warm, but we're loving every minute of it. I'm ready for some questions.
You bet. Brennan, your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways to answer that question, but for me, as a market manager and an auctioneer, knowing value to me is number one. You can have the best chant, you can be the most personable guy, you can be the most honest guy in the room, but the guy that I want selling for me, and I have the opportunity to have several auctioneers do that, and I feel that I do the same, is to know the value. And I think if you know the value, it doesn't matter what your chant sounds like, you're going to be successful in this business, Jacob.
Second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Well, week to week, that's a good one. We like to run a pristine facility, make sure it's as clean as absolutely any place that we compete against. And we like to try and showcase all the things that we can do. We're all here working together, but there are little minute things that certainly set us apart. Ease of bringing your cattle to town, We feel that we can sort them as good as any place, and we feel that we can certainly merchandise them as best of our ability with world-class auctioneers, a great facility, a great buyer row, and true price discovery via the auction method of marketing.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
The list would be 2 pages long. There's a lot of things that I would love folks to do, and I know in our area, and I'll just speak on our behalf, there's a lot of producers that rely on us. They call us about the weather, they call us about everything, and I wish people would interact more with us. It's amazing how many people have consigned their calves to our sales already. We run several feature sales in October. They're already half booked in June. So I think if folks were more flexible and were more open to suggestions from us as marketers, it would be a huge asset to them. Proper castration, vaccination programs, and just flat out selling at the right time certainly would be a breath of fresh air for us. The producers that embrace that, for sure, make more money, and I would love for them to rely more on us and our professional opinion to help them make the best marketing decisions we can.
Brennin, thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Next contestant, Chris Pinard. Chris, how are you?
Great, Jacob. How are you, buddy?
Good. Have a seat. Chris, is there anybody, your sponsors or family, anyone you want to thank back home?
Yeah, absolutely, Jacob. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Southern Livestock Market, one of my sponsors, also Jackson Regional Livestock Market, back home for supporting me and giving me the opportunity to be in a career that I love each and every week. And also, if I may just take just a second, I've had time to reflect over the past few days especially. A decade and a half ago, you're looking at a young, aspiring auctioneer, a guy that wanted to own 15 or 20 head of mama cows one day. Now I share this stage with you, a 15-year veteran of the industry, and co-owner of a company that runs a couple thousand head of stockers, and I couldn't be more proud to answer your questions today.
You bet. Your first question, Chris, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Wow, put yourself on the spot right to start with. I've trained a lot of auctioneers, had a couple young guys come up under me, Jacob, and I think the first thing that pops in my mind is charisma. I mean, you're going to hear integrity, you're going to hear honesty, you're going to hear clarity of your chant, you're going to hear all these other things, but I want a guy that's going to engage and be charismatic and talk to my people. From the unloading docks is probably where he's going to start his job if he's going to come under me, and those are things as for myself that I try to focus on is just being charismatic, just being a people person, because that's what we're in, the people business.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Prepare myself to represent my market and its consigners. Well, I think first and foremost is product knowledge. Obviously, I'm going to sell to do a job and to know what I'm selling and to have a grasp on the market at that time would be one thing. Always obviously try to be presentable. Try to do, as I said, charisma. Try to talk to these people and get a feel for not only the market but who they are as a person and as a family back home. I think I heard some guys in the one of the deals this morning talking about family and how connected we are, and that's part of our business. Knowing these guys, knowing these producers, knowing who we're working for, and knowing what we're doing, I think helps all of us.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
What would more producers know to help them with their marketing would be just value. The whole value, we talk about castration, we talk about vaccination protocols, we talk about all this thing, but there's so much more to value in my opinion than that. I've heard a lot this week about genetics. Obviously that's one thing, but just being in tune with the market, being in tune with your marketer, whether it be a local market or whether it be a big video auction sale or whoever you're dealing with, being in tune and being up to date with those guys and letting them or us provide with the opportunity and provide you with the knowledge that you would need to know when to sell your cattle, to know when's the best time, when do you need to wean them in this market like it's been. Some people may think it's crazy, but when you can sell a 400-pound calf for $1,400, I've been telling guys to bring them off the cow and bring them to town while wasting 90 days. So just being up to date on what to tell these guys and them listening to you and giving you the opportunity to provide them with that knowledge.
Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Next contestant, Ross Parks. Hey, Ross, how are you?
Good, Jacob. How about yourself?
Good, good. Ross, is there anybody, your sponsors or family, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
Yes, Jacob. Thank you for that opportunity. I'd like to thank my sponsors back home, Barnesville Livestock, Darrell Watson and family, United Producers at Bucyrus, Keith Hines, United Producers at Caldwell, Brad Howery, and Sugar Creek Stockyards, Brady Baker in Sugar Creek, Ohio, and also my friends and family that couldn't be here to support me and taking care of everything at home for me.
Ross, got a few questions for you.
Yep.
First question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Jacob, what makes me a good auctioneer, I feel like, is that I'm very passionate about this industry. When I get up behind the block, I almost get the jitters because I love it so much. I want to work for my consigners and my producers in my area to get the most money for them I can. And also, I go above and beyond. I go out back and I work in the back trying to sort the cattle, trying to help people, talking to the producers, talking to the buyers to get that extra money for them or go the extra mile for them also.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Jacob, how I prepare myself is, when a consigner calls me and says, I got X amount of cattle coming, they're weighing this, I know the certain buyers that I need to call to get them there to the market to get them the top dollars that I can for them. So, like I said, I go above and beyond and call the right people, make sure that everything is in line, and I go in the back and I make sure them cattle are sorted up to the way they need to be to get the most money for them.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
Well, Jacob, the things I wish they would know is that sometimes that you need to do the weaning programs, you need to do the shop programs, because back in my area, a lot of them are older generation or farmers and stuff, and they don't like to do that stuff. And I wish I could talk to them and tell them if you would steer your calves, vaccinate your calves, I could probably get you a little bit more of a premium for them at the auction. And
good. Ross, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Jacob. Thank you, judges, everybody.
Next contestant, Jason Santomaso. Jason, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. Good. Have a seat. Jason, is there anybody, your sponsors or your family, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
You bet. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Sterling Livestock, Jim and Becky Santomaso. Thank everybody for being here, the judges. But Jacob, I also want to thank you for being an amazing ambassador this past year. You're a great friend and a great ambassador, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Jason, I've got a few questions for you. Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
I think, in my opinion, what makes me a good auctioneer is I love the business, I love working for the customers, and I love working with the buyers. I enjoy these trainings to make myself a better auctioneer, and understanding the market's going to change and learning how the market's changing, and that way I can better serve my customers.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Again, it goes back to education, educating myself on the market, what shots the feedlots and the buyers are wanting, and just knowing the entire market, knowing how they want sorted, knowing what the buyers are going to want to buy when they come in the ring.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
In our area, we run into the cattle that come in the day before. They think that that feed bunk needs to be full of hay. When you're trying to market cattle, you don't want a big belly on them cattle. So I think that's one thing we try to stress is, even if those cattle shrink a little bit, but we take that belly off, they're going to look a lot more gant, and then buyers that's kind of what they want to go on to feed with. So trying to educate our customers about the shots, but mainly we don't want to fill those up on sale day.
Jason, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
Next contestant, Curtis Wetovick. Curtis, how are you?
Very good. Very good.
Good. Curtis, is there anybody you'd like to thank, your sponsors or your family at this time?
Yeah, Jacob, I'd like to thank West Point Livestock Auction back in West Point, Nebraska. Thank Stockman's Livestock, Yankton, South Dakota. Also Erickson Spalding Livestock Market. And my hometown, Fullerton, Nebraska, Fullerton Livestock Market. Pleasure to represent those good auctions here, and appreciate that.
Curtis, I've got a few questions for you. First question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Well, thank you for that question, Jacob. What makes me a good auctioneer? I live the business, as a lot of the others do, but I come home and it's right to my cows, right to my cattle. I do some backgrounding. I'm thinking about the cattle business all the time. And as far as at the sale barns, I talk to people. I sit in the cafe. I learn. I'm a sponge. I write things down. I write down phone numbers. I call people on the way home. Behind the microphone, I try to be clear. I try to be rhythmic. I try to be somebody that the buyers can sit there all day and listen to. I try to bust my butt for the consignor, because they get one chance to get their check. And I take it serious, but try to keep a light atmosphere if I can. So that's what makes me a good auctioneer.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
That's a very good question as well, Jacob. There's a lot of things you can do online to study the markets. Many of you probably know the feeder flash with Corbett Wall. I listen to that every morning driving to my sale. I write down the highs and kind of the averages, try to prepare those prices. I try to practice my chant, kind of run things through my mind of what I can tell producers when they call me, what they can do to prepare their cattle better when they bring them. Just keep my head clear and practice hard.
Curtis, your third question. What do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I wish more producers could understand a little bit of what it takes to have them look nice in the ring. There's so much of when the animals walk in, that first impression is so big. And it can be uniformity, hide color, fill, and just general health and keeping them clean in the pens, keeping them bedded. And that starts at the ranch before they come. And just all the genetics. But that presentation is so big. I think when cattle walk in the ring, they got to look good.
And when they're stacked up against others that are number ones, they got to try, even if they're not, they got to try and present them like they are. So I think that presentation, the fill, the cleanness, and just the genetics and all the things that go into 365 days of making that good calf.
Curtis, thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.
Your next contestant, Barrett Simon.
Hi, Jacob. How are you doing, sir?
Hi, Barrett. I'm good. Are you? Good. Have a seat. Barrett, is there anybody, your family or sponsors, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
Sure. Jacob, I sure would like to take some time just to recognize my sponsors. Of course, Sean and Dana Mills on behalf of Eureka Livestock Sales, Cale and Nicole James there with Fairview Livestock Commission Company, and then the Chambers family on behalf of CNC Livestock, all of which are here supporting me, and I do appreciate their friendship. Appreciate your time this afternoon as well, Jacob. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
You bet. Barrett, I've got a few questions for you. First question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Well, I think I hope you got 30 diversified answers, but 30 passionate answers. I guess for me, the thing that really keeps me going and keeps me trying to be a better auctioneer than I was yesterday, and hopefully every day, is the fact that I didn't grow up on the inside of a livestock market. I didn't grow up on the inside of any other auction business. I did grow up on a working ranch there in the Kansas Flint Hills, and from an early age, I was diagnosed with a subacute case of auction fever. And I wasn't aware of that until I got out of college, and I went ahead and moved away from home in a different role and fell in love with the livestock market and got to learn a little bit about the backside of one of those facilities and a little bit about some of the challenges of maybe owning one of those facilities. And eventually I admitted to myself that I wanted to be the auctioneer. And fast forward, after I watched, I think, every one of these WLAC videos that was out there at the time, I get to be a part of it. And so each morning when I wake up and look in the mirror, I get to remind myself that I'm so fortunate to live my dream. And each night when I lay my head down, remind myself of the same thing. And that's one thing that keeps me motivated. As you know, there are many facets that make up a good auctioneer, and everybody in our crowd here this afternoon probably would have a different list of things that make up a good auctioneer. I work hard every day to hopefully check one more of those onto my list and just try to be the best I can.
Barrett, your second question. How do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Sure. And, I'm in a unique position where I sell at a couple of different livestock markets in very different kind of geographic locations, but also in different production environments. And so there may be one week in western Oklahoma where we're lined up with loads of yearlings coming off wheat, and then in eastern Kansas, it's a little bit slower time. As we get into the back half of the summer here, we're going to get really busy at my market in eastern Kansas. Things may slow up a little bit in a comparative sense as I go to western Oklahoma. And so I think what I've found to be effective is to stay up to date on what's out there in each respective location, what's coming, visit with those owners when I can and as they see fit as well, and find out a little bit about the quality of the cattle, find a little bit about the history of some of the cattle, and then of course one thing I try to do throughout the week is follow with regional market reports and see what is the board doing today, what has the cash trade done in the previous days, and try to understand as much as I can about that product before it sees the ring.
Barrett, your third question. What do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I guess for me, Jacob, I think many producers already know this. It's a challenge for each of us to remind ourselves this. We talk a lot about adding value and generating revenue, and right now we're selling these cattle of all classes for a lot of total dollars. It's easy in those exciting times to only focus on the revenue. It's easy in times where they're not worth as much to focus on how do I create more revenue. The thing that I think I need to do a better job of remembering, and that I hope producers always keep in the forefront of their mind when it comes to marketing, is to focus on the margin. We can all talk about adding another round of shots. We can talk about increasing the time of weaning your calves, or weaning them versus selling them off the cow, or investing in genetics. But each of those also comes with a cost. And each of our operations is also very different in terms of availability of labor, what our cost to gain might be based on our feed resources. And then, of course, the big one here over the last 12 months is the impact that interest rates have on individual operations. And so I think when we consider marketing and all the information that's out there and all the avenues we can pursue, one thing I would like to see producers continue to remember and hear more about is how to create margin and how to be cautious and educated in our decisions. And I'm as guilty as anybody else, because we all like to sell them high and we all like to explore new market highs and total dollars. But at the end of the day, it's about profitability. And I think any chance we can get to interject that in conversations with our producers and maybe even help them have some of those conversations and run some of those numbers, it makes us better at our job, and ultimately it gives them a better chance to be in this business for the long haul.
Barrett, thank you.
Thank you.
Your next contestant, Sisto Paez. Sisto, how are you?
Good, Jacob. How are you doing?
Good. Sisto, would you like to take a minute to thank any of your sponsors or family?
Well, sure, Jacob. I'd like to take a second and thank the sponsors that are behind me, starting with Western Oklahoma Livestock Auction there in Clinton, Oklahoma, with Brandon and Aaron Hickey, Abilene Livestock Auction in Abilene, Texas, Henry Pickett, Martin and Yvette Sullivan, and Joseph Scott, and as well as Woodward Livestock Auction in Woodward, Oklahoma, Ben and Amy Hale, as well as Seth Hale. I'd like to thank them for having my back, allowing me to be here, and allowing me to have this conversation with you, Jacob. So you have some questions for me.
Absolutely. Sisto, your first question. What makes you a good auctioneer?
You know, Jacob, that's a hard question to answer, as far as I'm my own biggest critic, so I don't really think I am the greatest auctioneer I can be, but I have a lot of passion for what I do. I have a lot of passion for sitting down and seeing that couple that have done it generationally sit out and pull their phones and quickly put that math together on how much that set of cattle brought for them and the smiles on their faces. I don't know if that makes me a good auctioneer, but that's what gets me up and makes me want to show up for work. And so if I can do that every day, then at least I can put a little bit of passion into what I do. And if that'll make me a good auctioneer, well then, as far as I'm concerned, I think that's the best thing I can do.
Your second question. How do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Week to week, the main thing I can do, and especially preparing for things like this interview, talk to your producers, get to know what they're doing, get to know how to do it. As auctioneers, that's one thing we can do to help with public speaking. That helps us with things like this interview. So as me, on a daily basis, I talk to my producers. I try to talk to the people that are out there in the fields, at least get to know what they're dealing with, what kind of input costs they have, what help they need to do, and try to educate them on some sort of things like vaccinations, what time to vaccinate, what time to wean. Everybody needs help. And the problem and it's not a problem to have, it's a great thing to have. In the agriculture community, we're a type of people that we like to do stuff on our own. And we don't like to get out there and help anybody because we've all done it, and we like to do it our way because it's the right way. Well, the great thing about that is when we get out there and talk to our producers and we can talk to each other, well, we all get together and we can actually push each other in the right direction. As we can all move together in that way, then we're doing something fine. So if I can talk to my producers and at least get to know their backstory, that's what I can do to be a better auctioneer for my markets.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
Competition is huge. The greatest thing about competition is that you put people in the seats and you see it from years past. You see sales from years past. When those barns are full, those prices are high, and it's great. More competition breeds higher prices. The better we do that, the more centralization we see of this market, the more trouble we see about getting these higher prices. Right now is such a great time in our economy with everything that's coming with these cattle prices we're seeing. But the problem is now these farmers have to go back to these special cow sales. How are they supposed to buy these first calf heifers for $3,500? The input costs are hard for these producers to get back. So I want them to understand it. Yes, take the bid for your cattle, but push them towards the market. You want that market, and they will help you to do things like we learned from the Livestock Marketing Association at the WLEC contest here. We can educate them. We can help them. When to vaccinate, when to wean, what programs to do. Check those boxes. You need to add value to your cattle, and we can help them do that.
Sisto, thank you.
Jacob, thank you, sir.
Your next contestant, Ethan Schutte.
Afternoon, Jacob.
Hi, Ethan. How are you?
Great. Good to see you, buddy.
You bet. Ethan, is there anybody you'd like to thank at this time, your family, your sponsors?
Oh, absolutely, Jacob. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that. Folks, first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to my family, a beautiful family. They are all here this week, which is the first time I've had an opportunity for that. I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for my sponsors back home for standing behind me and giving me the opportunity to represent them and their customers each and every week. I'm thankful for the Livestock Marketing Association for giving us this opportunity this week, not only for a chance to represent them, for a chance to represent this entire industry as a whole. And Jacob, I'd be remiss, buddy, if I didn't say thank you to you. 2023 World Champion Livestock Auctioneer, done an outstanding job. If you don't know him, I encourage you to get to know him because he is the prime example of what a true champion is.
Ethan, thank you. I've got a few questions for you. Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Your answer or mine?
Yours.
I tell you what, when I started in this industry about 11 years ago, an individual that I went to work for told me that sounding pretty would get me in the door, and knowing the value of the cattle and how to get there would keep the job and get more. And so that's what I pride myself in is paying attention to that value and how to get there, as well as dealing with people on a daily basis.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
And as a livestock auctioneer, nothing is more important than preparation. I prepare myself by following the market all over the country, what's going on from California to North Carolina, North Dakota to Texas, just to follow what the market is doing and understand where that value is at and where it might be for my customers that week.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
You know, we've talked about that in several sessions, Jacob. We talk about it every year, honestly. And we just need to do a better job as an industry portraying to those customers. We talk about what we wish they knew, but we need to have those meetings and physically educate them. But the shot programs, weaning programs, a calf off the cow 7 days with one round of shots and he's still a bull is probably not going to bring top dollar. And everybody in this room could attest to that. But there are still producers out there that are unaware, or they've heard wean them and give them shots, and so maybe they are doing it but not doing it correctly. And education is where I would take that.
Ethan, thank you.
Thank you again, Jacob. Ladies and gentlemen, judges, appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Your next contestant, Jeremy Miller. Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
Doing well, Jacob. Thank you.
Jeremy, is there anybody, your family, your sponsors, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
Yes, I would. I'd like to start by thanking my family. A couple of my brothers were planning to be here today, but they couldn't make it, but I know they're watching online, and I thank them for that. And I would also like to thank my sponsors that give me the opportunity to do what I really love to do on a weekly basis. That's Jodan Eves and the folks at Tulsa Stockyards, and then also Chris Keeling and the Hammond family at Four State Stockyards in Exeter, Missouri. That said, Jacob, I'm ready for the questions.
You bet. Jeremy, your first question. What makes you a good auctioneer?
I think what makes a person a good auctioneer is a passion for what he does on a day-to-day basis. And I had an auctioneer tell me early in my career as an auctioneer, he said, what I want from you is I want energy. I want you to put energy into that room, because if you're not putting energy into the room, you're taking energy out of it. So don't be a drag on the auction. Be excited about what you sell. And also, what you need to do is have a mentor that can teach you the ropes, because it was Mark Twain that said, experience is what you have just after you needed it. And you know, I've stubbed my toes a few times, and if I'd have listened more to my mentor or had a mentor that I really went to, I could have avoided some of those pitfalls. But one thing that you really need to know, you need to know the value of the asset that you're marketing. And you need to realize as an auctioneer, you're holding the livelihood of those producers in your hands, and you need to maximize the value of that asset for them. They may only get one paycheck or two paychecks a year. Know that responsibility. Also, as a good auctioneer, a livestock auctioneer, you better have a working relationship with those buyers that are in those seats. You know, some days I think it would be good if I had a degree in psychology, diplomacy, and maybe a little bit of a bouncer. But you've got to find a way to have a working relationship with them, even if you don't exchange Christmas cards with them every year.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
So what you need to do to prepare yourself, there's some basic things that I learned from some great auctioneers. One of them was Paul C. Bear. He told me there's a lot of things you need to do to prepare yourself. It may be as basic as making sure you get enough sleep the night before, making sure you take care of your voice, take care of all those things physically to where when you show up, make sure you have a clear understanding of what your job is. That's to maximize the value of that asset. So that also means know what the cattle are that you're selling. Make sure you know the history of those cattle, you know, the vaccination program they've been through, anything that will add value to those cattle that you're selling. You need to know that and then relay that to the buyers in a clear manner. And then just sit in that seat, do your job. Don't slouch. Get up there, get after it, and go out and get the money.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
Okay, so I've often wondered a little bit why we end up getting so many young cattle, so many balling calves, so many cattle come in there, and there may be a lot of bulls too. They haven't been castrated, they haven't been weaned. And to me, I'm there every week, and I see that market day in and day out. To me, it doesn't make any sense why you would bring a calf like that in there, because the other cattle that had come in, they're weaned, they're vaccinated, had a proper program, those are bringing way more money than these cattle that come in like this. And so I think maybe it falls back on us. Are we doing a job, the job that we need to relay to our producers and let them know what will maximize the value of those cattle? You know, it's on us to find a way to do that diplomatically. You can't just tear into them and give them a piece of your mind and expect them to take it the right way. But if there's a way we can show them, maybe with the market reports, we can show them by example of what's happening, what happens if you wean those cattle and you take them, handle them the right way. It's going to add value to their bottom line. And we should be all about profitability for them, because we need them to sustain their markets and their programs so that we can continue to do what we do, and that's market cattle.
Jeremy, thank you.
Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your attendance here. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Your next contestant, Daniel Mitchell. Hey, Daniel, how are you?
Good, Jacob. How are you?
Daniel, is there anybody, your sponsors or family, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
Yeah, I believe there is. We got to definitely thank my consigners and my family back home that entrust me in selling their cattle each and every week, and pretty much it. Thank you.
Dan, I'll get a few questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
What makes me a good auctioneer? What makes anybody a good auctioneer? To strive for the ultimate goal, to get the best price for each and every consignor, each and every time that you can. Honest, integrity, just key words that bring back memories that my dad instilled in me when I was young. Do the best you can. Make sure you get all that you can every time.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consignors week to week?
First of all, be knowledgeable of the industry and what's going on at that current time, at market, adversities, anything that we face throughout the day or the week to week, month to month, and year to year. Make sure that you're on the cutting edge and make sure that you know everything that you possibly can to educate your consignors and be proactive in everything that you can to make sure that that happens.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
Well, first of all is one of the good things that we've learned here this weekend is producer profitability. Educating those producers on giving shots, weaning their cattle not 7 to 10 days. We need their cattle 35 to 45 days, which, and where we come from, eastern United States, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that castration can gain 10 to 15 cents a pound, and sometimes in cases of 25 cents a pound. And I believe that's some of our job as being market owners, auctioneers, to push that and make those producers understand that, you know, castrations, vaccination, make sure that your cattle are weaned 45 days at least. Things like that, that we can educate those people to make the most money they can, to keep them in business, to keep us in business. Thank you.
Daniel, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Your next contestant, Lynn Langvart. Hey, Lynn, how are you?
I'm good, Jacob. Thank you for having me.
Have a seat. Lynn, is there anybody you'd like to thank, your family or sponsors?
Absolutely. I'd like to recognize and say thank you to my family and friends back home and those that made the trip. It starts with the Langvart family at JC Livestock Sales Incorporated, Clay Center Livestock Sales Incorporated, and our crew and staff. Thank you to them folks. Pratt Livestock in Pratt, Kansas, the Winter family and Lewis family, thank you to them. And my newest sponsors, who happen to be CNC Cattle Company, the George Chambers family. Got to know and meet them through this convention and through these auction contests, and that's really what we're here about. And I just want to say thank you. It's great to have you on board. Thank you.
Lynn, I've got a few questions for you.
Absolutely.
Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
I think what makes me a good auctioneer is knowing who I'm working for, and that starts with my producer. And my goal as an auctioneer or as a market man as well is to make sure that my producers are profitable, sustainable, that they're back next year, and that in the years to come. You know, whenever they so choose, if they want to pass it down to their children, if they want to, whatever they want to do. But I am in business for that gentleman there. Yes, I do answer also to the buyer. I want to make him feel as comfortable. I want to be honest to him. But the producers are the one that are paying our ways, so that's who I'm working for.
Second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Once again, just knowing the market and knowing who I'm working for. My job as a livestock auctioneer or a market person is to know what the market is, how the cattle need to be sorted, how I present the cattle, how I feed the cattle, get up in the morning, do my job for the producer's cattle, and then know the market. And once it's sale time, I'm marketing their cattle to the best of my ability.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I've talked a little bit on this from time to time. My biggest thing is to know that they are not the end-all in the game, that they are marketing cattle to the next step. Whether you're a cow-calf producer that's raising calves that sell as stocker calves, or whether you're a background or whatever it is, you're raising cattle to pass on to the next person. Whether that be a feeder, whether that be a backgrounder, whether that be the person that's going to end up, taking them cattle on to slaughter, whatever you want. But know that what you're trying to do as a producer is evidently going to the next person. Help yourself to put that in the next person's hand.
Lynn, thank you.
Jacob, thank you. Appreciate it.
Your next contestant, Jeff Showalter. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
All right, how you doing, Jacob?
Good, good. Have a seat. Jeff, is there anybody you'd like to thank, your sponsors or your family?
Yes, I would. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Todd and Jeffrey Weigert, and Christina Boyer is here with me today. My family that's drove all the way down here with me, and you judges for taking the time out of your day to be here with us today.
Jeff, I've got a few questions for you. All right. Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
Well, what I think makes me a good auctioneer is I know the price of the cattle. I know what they're worth when they come in the ring. I know my producers. I deal with my producers, and I like to interact with my producers and my buyers and mediate between the two. So I think that's what makes me a good auctioneer.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
How I prepare myself to work with my producers in my market is, well, I'm a field rep for my market, so I deal with my producers on a daily basis by phone, by going out to see them, visit with them, be with the producers, let them know what we need for the market, what types of vaccines and things we want in the cattle, and try to get their cattle marketed as high as I can.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
What I would like for them to know is we need to educate the producers in our state, back in Virginia. We got a lot of background in cattle. We need to educate these people on more of the backgrounding, more of the vaccinations programs, the protocols that they want for these big feedlots, and just to have them be aware of what all's going on, and get the producer profitability, educate them on that, make them learn, and put it out there for them to learn what we can do, and make the younger generation stick with us in farming, because we're losing them. We're losing them fast.
Jeff, thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Jacob.
Your next contestant, Wade Leish. Hey, Wade, how are you?
Great, Jacob. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to start off by thanking my sponsor markets for allowing me the opportunity to not only work for them and represent their customers, but in supporting me and allowing me to be here as well. It's a privilege. And more importantly, my family who's here and supports me. And I think, like a lot of us contestants, without their support, I wouldn't be able to be in this industry. So appreciate them all being here. Jacob, I'm ready for your questions.
You bet. Wade, your first question. What makes you a good auctioneer?
What makes me proud to be an auctioneer is probably what makes me be a good auctioneer, and that's the value that I place in the hard work that our producers are putting in 365 days a year to not only feed America, but also entrusting us with the cattle and bringing them in front of the market. We've learned about the different things that a producer values, whether that's profit or lowering their inputs. And right down at the bottom of that, there's no distinction between which would be valued more to them, is that relationship. And that's what I tend to focus on, and I think that's what makes me a good auctioneer, is the relationship that I have with the seller, and make sure that when they are done selling their product that year, that they walk out with their head up and they're proud of the work that they've done, and they know that we appreciate it from the block.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
there's the LMA does a great job of putting out information for us to be able to take back to our producers, and preparing ourselves for the work that we do comes from a lot from that information, being able to provide them with the tools that they need to be better at their job as producers. And that's what they're looking at us for a lot of times. They're looking to us for some advice. They're looking to us for some consultation. And we can take the information the LMA gives us, and we can take information that even buyers are giving us throughout the industry and maybe other markets that we're working at, and to be able to provide that to our producers. And I think that's things that we can continue to work on and provide our producers and help us prepare to be better at our job every single day.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
If more producers knew how much we value them and how hard we work as an industry to not only give them the best paycheck that they can expect on that day, but also eliminate stress. They can come to our market, and they can have a confidence that not only did they get the most their cattle were worth on that day, but they were represented in a way that makes them proud of what they've done.
Wade, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're having just a little bit of technical difficulties for those of you watching online, and we'll be right back with our next contestant here just in a minute. You don't want me to sing. Kyle, if you would like to come sing, but you don't want me to sing, I promise. But I would like to take this time for those of you watching online and everyone here in attendance to invite you to the contest tomorrow, the live auction portion. That will be held at Oklahoma City Stockyard starting in the morning. Opening ceremonies will be at 7:45. Those contestants, as we talked about earlier, they drew for that order last night. They drew for their interview order today, and as well as their contest tomorrow. So we'll be ready for that contest kicking off. Opening ceremonies 7:45 in the morning. I'd like to invite each of you out there to watch that as well. And Kyle, are you sure you don't want to come sing? As he does. Your next contestant, Andrew Sylvester.
Hey, good afternoon, Jacob. How are you?
Hi, Andrew. I'm good. Are you?
I'm great. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Andrew, is there anybody, your sponsors or family, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
There is. I'm proud to have my family here with me. My wife, Lauren, our three boys, Arden, Austin, and Easton are all here. Then I really want to thank my sponsors. I've got some of the best sponsors in the business. I work at a great place, Manhattan Commission Company. They're here with me. John and Annette Klein are here. Lee and Cindy Nelson are here. There's others from the barn here, too. I want to give them a shout out and thank them for all their support.
Andrew, I've got a few questions for you.
You bet.
Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
It's a great question. I think being a well-rounded individual that's driven, I think, is a huge component of it. Being able to adapt and work for your customer, and whether or not that's a customer who brings cattle to the auction market, or whether that's fellow employees or the boss, I think you need to be well-rounded to be a great auctioneer.
Your second question: how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Jacob, it is a pleasure to work for the producers in our area. They are the salt of the earth. They're some of the best people in the world. They put beef at the center of the plate for people all over the country as well as the world, and being prepared for them is helping coach them, making sure that they have their ducks in a row prior to coming to the auction market, whether that's vaccinations, whether that's management on weaning. It's also very, very important to do our homework as far as knowing the cattle that are going to come in and procuring those buyers so they are there to purchase those cattle.
Andrew, your third question: what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
Well, I tell you what, what I wish they knew more about was the effort and the heart that we put into it as auction market owners and auctioneers, and really our whole team, especially at Manhattan Commission Company, from the folks that unload the cattle, the sorters, the clerks, the ringmen. We all work together as a team, and I'd like them to know that we are always working on their behalf for them, and it's our job, and we take it very, very seriously.
Andrew, thank you.
Jacob, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, folks.
Your next contestant, Zach Zumstein.
Thank you, Jake. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zach Zumstein. I come to you from Idaho. I represent Treasure Valley Livestock in Caldwell, Idaho, Intermountain Livestock Commission in La Grande, Oregon, and Central Washington Livestock in Moses Lake, Washington. Thank you for being here. Thank you, sir. I believe we have some questions.
You bet. Zach, your first question: what makes you a good auctioneer?
I'm a good auctioneer because I am given the opportunity every single week to offer our customers a better standard of living and maybe a higher price than they got the year before. I can offer them liquidity for their livestock every single week. If they need cash, they need to pay some bills, come talk to me. We'll get them done. I can provide availability for my buyers. They've got a job to do every single week where they need cattle, and I can help them fill those orders. And I can build great relationships with both of them. The last thing, Jake, is, let's be honest, what we get to do is fun. I'm very passionate about this. There's families in there every single week with kids and small children. I used to look up to the auctioneer as a young man. I think you probably did too.
Your second question: how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
When my consigners come in, I'd like to have a little chit-chat with them, talk to them about what they're doing at home. Do you have a good mineral package? Do you have a good shop program? Do you have a good weaning program? Are your genetics up to date? Are you keeping up with the Joneses as far as what kind of genetics you've got in your herd? And if we're already sitting down having that conversation, the most important thing, they're already on the right track, is we need to sell their cattle at auction.
Your third question: what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I think they need to know that the sale barn is the best way to market their cattle. Be it a video sale or the sale barn, we need to sell their cattle at auction. It's the best way to get competitive bidding and true price discovery, the highest that we can get for their animals. Lastly, they need to know that LMA is a fighting force for us, not only on the sale barn level, statewide, but as well as in Congress. They're always fighting for this industry, and I think it's one that needs fighting for. Thank you, Jacob.
Zach, thank you.
contestant number 27, Zach Zoomstein. Thank you all.
Your next contestant, Marshall Tingle. Hey, Marshall, how are you?
Sir, pleasure as always.
You bet. Have a seat.
Yes, sir.
Marshall, is there anybody you'd like to thank this time? Your family, your sponsors?
Absolutely, Jacob. Unlike some of these other contestants, I come in from very humble beginnings. I started in the back of the barn, and I finally made my way to the front side of the barn, and I didn't make that there by myself. I've had several people push me, support me, mentors, and I just can't say thank you enough. So I want to say a huge thank you to all my mentors and everyone who's believed in me, my beautiful wife, my son, and my sponsors that have helped me get here today and be with you.
Marshall, got a few questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Your first question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
What makes me a good auctioneer? Well, to start off, I would say a passion for the industry and a passion for the business, Jacob. You and I, we both know that we eat, breathe, sleep stockyards. And the fact that we can go out and do what we love to do each day for a living is amazing. But more importantly, you and I take a genuine care and concern for our producers and all those people that we go to work for. So when I get up on the block, it's my absolute, I strive so hard to get the top dollar for that consumer, or that producer, excuse me, that I can, because I know that that's their livelihood, that's their paycheck, that's how they provide a living for their family. And the fact that I can get to do it and have fun while I'm at it, that's just a perk.
Your second question, how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
So I'm prepared to I represent my market, my producers, and my market as hard as I can each and every day, whether that be through coming to a continuing education, things like this, learning more about our industry, learning how we can help improve our industry, and then to represent them well as far as when their cattle comes in the ring, to tell them everything that I know about them and strive my hardest to get them that top dollar for that cattle that they deserve, and just do the best job that I can, always be smiling and represent myself just the best that I can, because I know my reflection reflects back on them, reflects back on my market.
Your third question, what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I think I wish that more producers would know exactly what goes into marketing their livestock, and what would benefit them the most, whether that be through incentive programs, whether it be through like a VAC 45, backgrounding their cattle, putting 45 days, 30 days winning on them, putting their vaccine in them, and just doing the best that they can to help themselves market their cattle and help us do the balance.
Marshall, thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Your next contestant, Neil Beret. Hey, Neil, how are you?
Good. Jacob, how are you?
Good. Have a seat. Neil, is there anybody, your sponsors or family, anybody you'd like to thank at this time?
Yeah, Jacob, thank you. And I'd like to thank my sponsors, Mankato Livestock Incorporated, Mankato, Kansas, Sylvan Sales Commission, Sylvan Grove, Kansas, Unionville Livestock Market, Unionville, Missouri, and the Creston Livestock Market. We've got a tremendous set of producers that I get the opportunity to work for each and every week. I'd like to thank my family that's here with me this week. And Jacob, thank you for being such a great ambassador over the past year representing all the livestock markets in America. Thank you.
Neil, thanks. Got a few questions for you. First question, what makes you a good auctioneer?
I think what makes me a good auctioneer may not be just my chant, my voice clarity, but goes further than that in honesty, integrity, and running a good business and doing what's right for our business and also our producers, and doing the best for everyone involved.
Your second question: how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
So there's several different ways. I mean, so I'm working for 4 different markets. So I mean, there's several different ways. But staying on top of the market, knowing the value of what we're going to have at my own market, making sure that we have the buying power, the buyers, and make sure they all have the sales list of what the sale listing of what we're going to have for the week, and staying on top of that and the market.
Your third question: what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
There's obviously marketing livestock is probably not several of the producers' strong points. So I mean, we are the call person, the representative that they call for all their questions, whether it be shot records, what they need to give for shots, how long they need to be weaned, how they can add value to their cattle. But the other thing that most of them don't understand is what it takes to put on an auction, whether it be receiving cattle, the labor issues that we have, all the issues of having an auction, and then also getting the cattle loaded out in a timely manner, in an efficient manner, and for all of the animal welfare and everything with that. Thank you, Jacob.
Neil, thanks. Your next contestant, Andy Baumeister. Hey, Andy, how are you?
Hello, Jacob. How are you?
Good. Have a seat. Andy, is there anybody you'd like to thank this time, your sponsors or family or anyone?
Jacob, there is. I sure would like to thank my family for being here with me today. And I'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to my sponsors, Jody and Robin Thomas there at 4C Livestock in Gatesville, Texas. That's a new development, and I sure do appreciate everything they've done for me.
Andy, I've got a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sir.
First question: what makes you a good auctioneer?
Jacob, that's a great question there, and I feel like what makes anybody a good auctioneer, you've got to have product knowledge, and you have to be able to work with the people. You have to be able to work for that buyer, but you also have to work for that seller. You make your money from the seller 9 out of 10 times, and that you have to market that product as if it's your own, and make it bring the most money you possibly can.
Your second question: how do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
Can you repeat that question, please?
How do you prepare yourself to represent your auction market and its consigners week to week?
The best way to have us be I feel like the auctioneer is the face of that auction market. And you have to lead it that way. Be a stand-up person. You know, you want those people to bring their cattle to market at your market because they know you're going to make them bring the most that they possibly can. And that's all you can do. You have to be an upstanding human and let them know that you're going to treat their cattle just like they're your own.
Your third question: what do you wish more producers knew about marketing livestock?
I feel like, Jacob, we're getting into a new era. There's a lot more people that are trying to get into this game in Texas as well to try and get their tax exemption, but they don't have a clue what's going on. And I feel like that's something we need to do is promote vaccinations, promote weaning. We don't see much of that where we are. And I feel like that's something that really needs to be put out there to express to them, hey, you have a marketable product if you'll just do your homework too.
Andy, thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Well, that wraps up our interview round for today. Again, I want to thank each of you for watching online. Thank each of you for being in here in attendance with us. Before you run out, I do want to make a few reminders for us before we wrap this up. The buses to the barbecue at Oklahoma National Stockyards will begin loading here at 6 p.m. There will be directional signs instructing you how to get to the bus loading area. Parking is also available at the stockyards. But if you want to ride the buses, they're going to start loading here at 6 p.m. tonight to go to the barbecue. Also, the opening ceremonies for the championship will begin at 7:45 in the morning. And for our viewers watching online, the contest will be broadcast on the LMA YouTube channel, LMAauctions.com, and in the LMA Ringside mobile app. Seating in the arena is all reserved for the buyers and judges, but the stockyard has a nice setup for overflow seating on the bricks of the historic stockyards. Families, be sure to join the 2010 WLAC champion Kyle Shobe in the overflow viewing area for the kids to join the market marshals and be featured in a segment of our 2024 WLAC special on RFD TV. They'll be filming in the remote viewing area at the stockyards at 10 a.m. Also, there will be a remote viewing room at the Omni tomorrow. That remote viewing room will be in the Brick Town from 7:30 until the end of the sale. So that room's just right out here. If you don't know where that is, that's right up here past the registration desk. We'll have that viewing set up here as well if you want to watch that from here. Also, thank to everyone and best of luck to our semifinalists in tomorrow's competition. Thank you. Okay, Jason Santomaso and Michael Imbrogno, if you were still in here. Jason Santomaso and Michael Imbrogno, they need you to do your videos, please. I see I'm second now. Thank you.